Hello, my beautiful love of the world is the Queen Nightmare, and I'm going to read a different Drarry fanfiction than last time because I'm not into it. I'm sorry, I was not into that Christmas story. I know it was very emotional and stuff like that. If you do want me to read more of it, please let me know, and I will know which one it is because I did not show you which one it was. I'm really sorry about that, but I can explain. Okay, here we go. Here's one of them. A Very Drarry Christmas by Fleabag 13. So, it's the first part is called Pre-Christmas Jitters. That bland white sky was slowly turning to deep steely gray as the sun sank beneath the clouds. Colors of orange, gold, feebly attempting to show through the cloudy shield. Snow covered the ground outside, dusting the trees and bushes as well. The view was most beautiful, viewed from the warm, cozy sanctuary of your own home. Or, to be exact, for Draco Malfoy, the small window seat on the upstairs landing that he'd become rather fond of. The skinny pale boy that had been sitting with his legs pulled to his chest, leaning against the wall as he perched on the little ledge. The sunsets were quite a sight from here. He found himself unable to resist watching as he sinks away into the night. He barely paid attention to the faint sound of the radio coming from downstairs, announcing the next song that would be playing, which happened to be a new album released by a name he didn't recognize. Draco ran a hand through his rather messy hair. He didn't know what was happening there, but it was something about living with Harry Potter that caused you to just not care about keeping your hair perfectly styled. Of course, it was still better kept than Potter's. No one could possibly have messier hair than that boy's. Still, it was loose, free through his fingers, while he let a sigh escape his pink lips. He had sat there for maybe an extra 10 minutes before he heard footsteps come from below, following by the appearance of one and only Harry Potter, looking up at Draco from the bottom of the stairs. The dark-haired boy hung onto the railing as his gaze landed on Draco, exactly where he suspected him to be. "You going to sit there all night, Malfoy?" he asked with a tone of amusement, while he casually placed his free hand on his hip. "What a charming idiot." "I don't know, Potter. It would be a step up from having to share a bed with you." He shot back, a sort of smug, joking tone in his voice, as they were still rivals back at Hogwarts. "Funny, that's not how you were acting last night, Mr. Malfoy," Harry responded with an irritable, goofy smirk. Well, knowing that had shut him up, which it did. The other boy could think of no comebacks good enough beat. All he could do was scoff and turn his head away, just in time to catch the last glimpse of the sun, before it disappeared past the trees. Harry's footsteps climbing the squeaky stairs was the only warning he had before there was an arms slithering around his waist, and Harry bending over him, Just imagine how many Potter-obsessed girls would be looking at him with pure jealousy, and envy right now. Wasn't he just the luckiest bloke? The bloke. bloke. There's pizza downstairs, Harry told him, while Draco still took looking out the window, only sparing a slight side glance at him. I don't want pizza, he responded stubbornly, making a feeble attempt to wriggle out of his grasp, moving closer to the window the slightest bit. I had to put the pizza in the oven to make it. You will eat it, Harry told him, pulling back and letting him cross his arms overboard his chest, leaning against the wall, watching him, obviously not leaving it until he came downstairs. We're lucky the house isn't burnt down then, Draco commented, little faint smiles occasionally trying to creep into his face at his own jokes. Well, some of Harry's were funny too, but his comments were the cleverest, though he still couldn't think of a way that he could have responded to that one comment, because they did not even do anything last night. Maybe. Okay. No, he was just trying to defend himself. No. Defend himself now. Harry couldn't help but grin at the act of mortally offended. Mech. Then, really witty. I'll drag you if I have to, he warned him, and sure enough, he didn't wait before grabbing his arm and pulling. Merlin, he was like a twig. Of course he already knew that, but he really was just a stringy git, wasn't he? Well, he had to live with the stringy git, so tolerating him wasn't too hard. His head turned quickly to look at him before he quickly tugged his arm away, giving him a defeated look while he clambered off the ledge and stood. Of course he acted like this towards Harry out of love. Really, he did love him. Not that he'd admit it, but they just fooled around like this most of the time, or a lot of the time. It was just their way of communicating for the most of the time. Sometimes they did it too much, though, and then they didn't know if the other was seriously upset or something just joking. Yep, you can see some problematic parts of that. Fine, he said with a sigh, as he started down the stairs, slowly as Harry went first, leading the way. Draco had stayed quite quiet while they stood around and ate. The tables were overrated. Sitting on the counters was just fine for him as he ate his slice of pizza. It was a food they'd both become rather fond of. Though it wasn't anything fancy or proper Hogwarts feast, he was content and with dinner and full entertainment as Harry took to dancing and bouncing around to a certain Muggle Christmas song he recognized. He recognized. What ridiculous idiot. It was rather amusing, though. He couldn't help himself from smiling and abandoned all attempt to keep a straight face. "I wish you a Merry Christmas." Harry mouthed the words when he wasn't chewing, spinning in a circle and jamming out by himself. "You're going to choke if you keep doing that, Potter," he told him, while trying to suppress a laugh and with difficulty grab a napkin and wiping his hands once he finished his second slice. "I wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart." He must have inhaled the rest of the pizza before he started singing along to the music, causing Draco to roll his eyes to the ceiling, though a small smile had stuck onto his lips. Naturally, Harry's next move was to dance his way over to Draco, who wasn't perched on the edge of the counter, reaching his hand out and pulled him down to join him. Now, usually, Draco wouldn't be caught dead doing something like dancing with Harry Potter to Muggle Christmas music. But why resist? It was just him and his boyfriend alone in the house the night before Christmas Eve. "What? Night before Christmas Eve? What you saying?" Their wonderful feast of frozen pizza. Pure bliss, am I right? It must have been an hour before they had to stop. Harry panting from dancing around recklessly, and Draco pink-faced and rather giggly. There's a part of Draco mouthplay most aren't used to. Then Draco sank down to the floor, leaning against the cabinets, brushing a few strands of hair from his face, while Harry leaned against the counter, clutching the edge of it. "You're going to kill me, Potter," Draco commented with a slight, breathless laugh, glancing up at the messy-haired boy. "I think I've killed myself," he told him, sliding down to sit next to him, leaning his head back while his chest rose and fell heavily. The blond boy leaned his head against Harry's shoulder, letting out a slow breath of air. For a few minutes there was only the sound of both the boys breathing, resting against each other. Harry looked at his boyfriend, gaze lingering on him, before he spoke. "I think I'm done for the night," he said, with a nod from Draco. "Ready for bed?" he asked, getting another nod from the boy before he opened his eyes slowly. "Let's go then," he said finally, moving to stand. Slowly his body tried like he'd been tired, like he'd been running a mile. He might as well have, honestly. He held out a hand to Draco and basically had to pull him up all by himself as the slim boy got to his feet. Harry had taken the pleasure to clean up the kitchen while Draco leaned against the counter, too tired and simply not wanting to help. Harry made most of the mess anyways. After they had left the kitchen and turned off the main lights, they tramped up the stairs and into their shared master bedroom. Harry took over the bathroom first, whereas Draco made right for the bed and flopped down on it, laying still. "The bathroom's big enough for us both, you know," he joked, walking to the open door with his toothbrush in his mouth, while he tried to pull off his shirt at the same time. Why didn't they just wait till why didn't he just wait until he was done brushing his teeth? No one knows. He didn't want to get up at all, but he reluctantly pushed himself over and sat up with much convincing for himself. Yes, but you make it seem like 10 people are already in there, he told him tiredly, rubbing his face as he strode over to the door, pausing to watch him for a moment, before sighing and joining him in properly getting ready for the night. After brushing their teeth and doing the usual bedtime ritual, with some playful arguing and jokes, Draco retreated right back to the same place while Harry disposed of his glass on the nightstand, checking the time and taking his sweet old time, while the others slithered right under the warm blankets and curled up, facing away from him. If you sleep any further away from me, you'll be on the floor, the dark-haired boy joked after he'd settled in as well, his eyes on the other's back, amusement mangled, and with a slight frown on his face. He reached an arm out and blindly locating his wrist and wrapping his arm around his thin body, pulling him closer with a sound of protest from the blond boy. Still no response. He held his warm body close to him, nuzzling the back of his neck, placing a small light kiss on his pale skin. Before speaking, "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked quietly, unable to help himself from giving one more small kiss after he felt his whole body relax in his arms. "I think you know the answer to that," Draco answered in a mumble. It can't be that bad. I told you everyone is fine with this. Ron and Hermione are," he reassured him, though Harry too wondered what all his friends and guests would really think of the whole dating Draco Malfoy situation. "And it won't be that awkward. You're okay with Hermione, right? And Pansy's coming, isn't she? Plus, I'll be there with you," he asked him. "No, he hesitated as he remembered, had something else she had to do. He said, slowly, still upset and not sure if Pansy has ditched him or really had other plans. "Pansy isn't coming," he confirmed. A small frown formed on his lips. "Oh well," he sighed slightly as he tried to think of what to say. "It'll be all right. They're all okay with you, remember? How you explained everything to everyone. About your father and all of it. I'm sure they understand," Harry told him, throwing every ounce of comfort that he had into his voice. But they don't, Harry," Draco said with a sigh, turning his head to look at him with emotion that Harry couldn't read off him very easily. "They may say they're fine with it, but they're just lying. They're just lying for you. They're never going to be fine with it, or with me. They aren't going to trust or approve of me after 7 years of fighting and hating my guts. Stuck. Maybe this was what this was true. Harry could tell some of them were a little indecisive about how they felt and seemed to act a little off when the subject came up. Besides that nothing was different about how his friends treated him. It was just a hushed thing to talk about. Apparently. They'll come around, he said quietly, trying to a small, sympathetic smile. He really did feel some pity. He really did feel some pity for his boyfriend. He didn't have anyone else anymore, and he wasn't sure of if his friends would ever be fully accepting. He wished Hermione could talk sense into them. She was good at that stuff. Draco laid his head down, his eyes focused on the small spot across the room while he thought of continuing the argument, maybe before giving up and saying, maybe. "I'll be all right," Harry told him at one last attempt to reassure him as much as he could. He sighed softly, letting his air out in a stream blowing right on the back of the thin boy's neck. Feeling him shiver as an unmistakable smile fought its way onto his pale face, Harry took this as a full okay to trail light kisses from the top of his neck to the bottom. Carefully moving his hand from side to pull the neck of the blonde boy's oversized T-shirt was so he could reach his path of kisses all the way to his soft shoulder. "I love you," he said quietly, tucking his head into his back as he held him gently. You'd better, Potter," he said, though all sharpness and edge in his voice gone, and replaced it with incredible softness. His eyes gently shut, and tired body relaxed in his arms. "I do." Whew, that was a long chapter. Whew, okay. Thank you guys for watching, and I am going to now edit this. Ugh. I don't know what to pick for pictures now. Oh no. I hope I make good pictures. Me in the future, please do that right. Okay guys, I love you for everything. Thank you for supporting me. And if you haven't done it yet, link down below, all my social medias or on the screen. If you haven't yet, subscribe, put the push notification on, and tell me what you think. My socials are on there. If you want my Snapchat, I'll put it on there as well. Okay, guys, I love you so much. You are amazing, and I hope to see you in the future. Bye-bye.